scare people here, but that's the reality of what we're looking at right now.
We've had word from emergency managers that if you live in elevations below 10 feet along the waterways, you need to evacuate. But Jim, this is going to be something that has to be decided on a case-by-case basis. Many folks are going to be riding this storm out now, have no choice but to ride this storm out. It might actually be more dangerous to leave at this point for some people.
I'm sure we're scaring some people half to death. That's not our intention. We're trying to show you what we believe and what the evidence shows. At this point, we would not recommend necessarily. Okay, here we go.
Here we go. Let's take the weather computer,
right to the weather computer right now. Here's brand new information from the National Hurricane Center. 25.7, 82.5, now moving to the northeast at 20 miles an hour. Its highest sustained winds, as we speculated, 125 miles an hour, which now makes Charley stronger than Hurricane Donna back in 1960.
Right.
And the threshold for Category 4 is 131.
I've just done a distance calculation now. Again, we're talking about our outer islands being the closest to the impact of the storm. From Sanibel, Captiva, the eye of the storm is now 59 miles from Captiva Island off to the south-southwest. With the forward motion of 29 miles per hour, it's 2 hours. 20 miles per hour. We're talking 2 to 3 hours before the eye wall, potentially the eye wall now. That's a big, we haven't really talked about the fact that the eye wall could be coming onshore here. We've been hoping it would stay out in 83 West. We've been praying that it would stay west of us to get brushed. But with this change in course, let me put it in motion for you again so you can see, with this change in course, with this new information from the Hurricane Center, it now appears that the eye wall itself has a likelihood of coming across somewhere around Sanibel.
Yes, and by extension, the storm does not stop at Sanibel Island. It's not like it hits a brick wall. It continues beyond Sanibel to Pine Island. St. James City is an extremely low-lying area. The western and southwestern end of Cape Coral would take a tremendous push of water as this came in from the Gulf of Mexico, and from there it would continue toward the northeast, perhaps up toward the Burnt Store area on the Lee-Charlotte line. Charlotte County also should be very concerned about this storm as it approaches.
All right, we've been telling people now about this recent change for the worse with Hurricane Charley. You need to now be thinking about what you can do to stay safe in your home. We're not telling you to get in your cars and take off right now. In many cases, that would be simply too dangerous.
But we are telling you to get off the beach.
That's right. And actually, can I show you, do this for me? Take a look at the First Alert Live Weather Link site. This is a picture of Vanderbilt Beach that was taken just about 10 minutes ago. Look at this. This is Vanderbilt Beach on our NBC2 view. Only about 10 minutes old. I'm counting half a dozen people there, including some folks standing under this umbrella.
And we're also seeing the tides getting higher and higher, and just in the past 10 minutes or so.
This really is not something to be laughed at this point. If the eye was staying to the west, if we were watching the storm and tracking it with all seriousness to the west of us, I could see a few folks standing on the beach to watch the storm go by. It happens all the time. It's not advised, it happens all the time. But we're telling people now this storm has taken a turn to the right. It is upgraded now to a Category 3 hurricane, and we still have people on the beach.
Okay, let's talk in terms a little more about protection of life. Now, I know if you live on Sanibel, if you live on Pine Island, if you live on Cape Coral, there is a very strong temptation for you to hop in your car and try to get out of the way.
Right.
Our fear is that there may be a lot of people with the same idea, and that would create a tremendous traffic jam. We would rather, for your safety, not see you caught in traffic and spending an hour or two in your car and perhaps caught on the highway when this storm comes in from the Gulf of Mexico, rather spending the next hour or two trying to protect yourself as best you can at home, hunkering down for the arrival of the storm.
Right, and this is important also to emphasize. We're talking about residents right on the water, within any reasonable distance from the water, 10 feet elevation or less, all the way up from Naples right on up through to Port Charlotte and beyond.
Absolutely. Let's run this loop a little bit more, and let's see if we can get glean a little more information as to.
Let me zoom out a little bit, and we'll just get a bigger look out here. Hang on one second.
Okay. And folks, you can see for yourself. Wow! You just get a perspective of the size of this thing and what's coming at Southwest Florida right now. But again, The destructive core of the hurricane is the red surrounding the donut. There's going to be plenty of bad weather and stormy weather and very strong winds on the other spiral bands, but it's the red donut that you see that's going to be the destructive core that right now is definitely, barring a miracle, definitely going to impact someplace in southwest Florida.
Well, we haven't talked much about rain so far because we actually haven't seen that much rain. We've had an inch or so in some of our places, but we can expect a real uptick in rain, can't we?
No question. We're certainly halfway through the rainy season. We've had a kind of a wet spell, and this easily is going to do 5 to 10 inches of rain. Fortunately, it's moving at 20 miles an hour, and once it makes landfall, the storm should exit about as quickly as it comes, and hopefully a lot of the rain goes with it. So
right. The dynamics of a storm coming on shore, of course, are the onshore winds continuing in this direction around the hurricane, which we'll see first.
Yes.
Southeast to easterly winds, very strong. But once the storm moves past, then we're also going to see return of the winds coming from the other direction, right?
Yes. Exactly. Once the storm is inland, that's not the end of the storm. That's not even halftime. Right. Because many times the worst winds and often the worst storm surge follows that landfall.
And what's important about that is that when the storm surge, which we will see at the beginning of the storm, occurs, there's still more to come after that.
Yes, absolutely.
Right. I know that we're very concerned about coastal residents. I thought maybe let's go back in and take a look around one more time at some of the communities on the water. Jim, any more thoughts about this wind field around the storm?
Again, it's the right semicircle that is the strongest part of a hurricane. And we were joking, not a joking matter anymore when we're talking vector algebra. You take the highest winds of a hurricane and you add or subtract the component of the forward motion depending on what side of the hurricane you're on. So the right side of the storm gets the hurricane force wind plus the component of the forward motion. So that's why the right side of the storm is always the strongest side.
Right. Here's the Cape Hayes Peninsula. Average elevation, what do you say, 3-4 feet?
There are areas in the Cape Hayes Peninsula, believe it or not, as you go into Rotunda and Placida over the interior that actually have a little bit of elevation, 12 or 13 feet. Of course, when you go all the way down to Englewood Beach, you're getting right down to sea level.
Right.
One of the trouble spots in Charlotte Harbor is downtown Punta Gorda. We have seen that flood so many times in storm surge situations, and of course the Myakka River, the Myakka Basin, which is also a part of Charlotte Harbor. But again, Charlotte County, we're worrying about. Lee County, we're very worried about right now as we continue to see this storm tracking toward the north-northeast.
Okay. Again, you're looking at live radar imagery from the last hour or so of our next rad imagery. Let's go ahead and take a look at some pictures around the area, some of our live pictures that we have. We have a crew now at St. James City. Jim, we were talking about high tide being right around the noontime hour, which is where we are now. We're seeing high tide. We're also obviously now anticipating a Category 3 hurricane and storm surge on top of that. What do you make of the waves here? We're seeing wind waves on our high tide right here, right?
Yes, and those pictures are coming from
St. James City.
St. James City. Right. The first thing I would be doing when we finish this live shot is getting that photographer out of St. James City and bringing him back, because he is in a very vulnerable place. We were getting some fantastic pictures from there right now, but that may be very close to ground zero for where the storm is coming. So we're certainly seeing the Pine Island Sound get angrier there.
Right. Right. Courtney George is with ABC 7. And Courtney, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, and trust me, you were right. This is getting a lot worse out here. This direction is north. I'm actually used this coconut. It's pretty heavy to see how fast the tides will actually, normally they just float. It'll immediately go in here before the end of this live shot. Now, also, if you look at my height, I am 6 feet tall. I'm not a short person. The storm tide, if it comes up, will actually go over my head. So the houses that are sitting here, this water would be actually over my head. That is how high it could possibly get out here. And these houses are all along here. Actually, this brush, all of this would be completely covered in water. And right now, when I first got out here, you know, it was kind of slapping against me. Now it's just coming in. You can see the coconuts already almost up to the beach. That is how strong this tide is coming north down here.
Can you still hear me okay? What's the wind like out there?
It's coming from this direction right behind me, which is going, I guess, that direction, a little southern. It's getting worse, but it's kind of going in spurts. Like the rain is coming down, you guys said like in those sheets. It's coming down in sheets and then it'll kind of stop for a little bit, dissipate, and then it comes back down again, but it seems to be switching direction. Right now it seems to be going mostly north, but when we got here originally it was kind of going mostly east.
Rainfall, have you had any really strong rain showers yet, or is it still pretty just
like you guys just missed it? Yeah, we're out here about 10 minutes ago. Nicole had a hit out here before that, and it right in between it just came down like cats and dogs. Now it's not actually as bad, but it's definitely, I mean, it's just more or less that it's coming from the side, so it's just hitting you, and it's just, you just feel the rain hitting. It's more or less the wind and the rain pushing it into your body, into cars, into houses, anything in that.
Courtney, I'm interested in knowing, do you see anybody else out and about there? Are there any other folks around watching you, or certainly?
Well, actually, yeah, there were a couple people that came out of their houses to take pictures because they're like, what is she doing standing in the middle of this?
Okay.
There's also a few people that have brought their cars around, and they're parking on like the end of streets, and they're sitting in their cars. One guy has his dog in the back, and his dog's getting soaking wet, and they're just watching this come in. It seems like they're used to it because they've lived out here, and they said, you know, they've made it through things like this before.
Yeah. All right, well, Courtney, I have a message for you to give to those folks that you see. Will you do this for me? And then I want you to do me a favor. First, the message is this isn't a joke anymore, and it's not something you need to sit in your car and watch. You need to go back home, get under cover, and stay there for the next 3 or 4 hours, okay? That's what you tell everybody that you see in the cars right there. And the second thing is, I'm not quite sure what our news directors told you, but I think you need to get out of there, all right?
Well, I think right now you said wind, and see, as I said before, it stopped, and now the wind is coming, I mean, extremely stronger. Right now it's coming to the opposite direction, but I said before, it comes in sheets, and now look, 5 seconds later, it's kind of calmed down.
All right, you're a 6-foot-tall gal. You're not a short gal. The water potentially could go a couple of feet over your head by the time 2, 3 o'clock rolls around this afternoon. It's going to be rising steadily. Pine Island, don't sit there in the car, please, and watch this. Go back home and get under cover.
Yes, absolutely. We can't emphasize this enough. We've had hurricane scares before, and sometimes people turn a deaf ear to us because we have these scares. Storms come so close. This is the real McCoy now. This is the major hurricane. This is the one that's heading for Southwest Florida.
If you're just joining us, and I'm sure many of you are tuning in and getting your fill of this, we're just getting started because we have some new information, some breaking news on Hurricane Charley right now. It has shifted course and is now making a beeline toward the Lee Island coast. It is moving to the northeast now at 20 miles per hour. We can clearly track it on our Doppler radar. You can see the eye of the storm is right here, making a curve toward the northeast. And this is new information. It's different information. And Jim, also we have seen the storm be upgraded.
Yes, it is now a Category 3 hurricane. Its high winds are 125 miles an hour. We're now talking about a storm that is stronger than when Hurricane Donna made landfall back in 1960. Wind, rain, and storm surge are the components to any hurricane, big or small, and this is a major hurricane. So we're talking about winds in the eye wall, that red shaded area surrounding the donut. Winds in that eye wall now are at 125 miles an hour, and the force of that wind will be causing the very serious storm surge. Now, earlier today, Robert, we were talking as a Category 1, then a Category 2 hurricane, that we might be having a 10-foot storm surge. At the point of landfall, and just to the right of the point of landfall, that storm surge could exceed 15 feet. Now, if I had to pick one of the worst places on the Southwest Florida coastline for storm surge, it would be in that little bend where between the southern and eastern tip of Sanibel, around Punta Rassa and Fort Myers Beach. When the wind funnels in, there, that storm surge is going to build tremendously. I understand now we have some pictures from Fort Myers Beach that we can show you right now. We have live video from the beach, and you can see.
Now look how far the water appears to be out. That
is what we're seeing. Evidently, is a negative surge in advance of the storm.
Which is don't let that fool you, right?
No, absolutely not. What we're seeing is an offshore component prior to the arrival of the storm that's actually going to cause the water to back out, and you're going to wonder what's going on out there. Then the storm's going to arrive. It's going to come back, and you can see very easily a 5 and 10 foot rise in water in just a couple minutes time.
Now, what meteorologically happens to make the water actually go that far out? Is the storm actually, the pressure on it is so great that it's bringing the water toward it, right?
Essentially a reversal of the wind. Ahead of the storm, the winds are coming around from the east right now and essentially pushing the water away from the coastline.
Right.
It's an offshore breeze that's growing in intensity, but on the bottom side of the hurricane, the winds are coming the opposite direction, and underneath there, that's where the winds are blowing 125 miles an hour, and that water is going to come back big time.
And there have been storms that in days past have actually brought the water out of the Caloosahatchee River. They've been so powerful offshore. We've had winds moving as well, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, I'm told right now that ABC7 reporter Sean Brown is with us right now at Fort Myers Beach. Sean, tell us what you see out there.
Well, what we have been witnessing over about the last half hour are some very fast-moving clouds, and it looks like a lot of fast-moving rain. You'll see behind me, you can kind of make out Sanibel and Pine Island over there. Those have been disappearing in the last 20 minutes. They'll just be completely covered in rain, and then the clouds will move on. When you look at the sky, you can really just see the clouds moving very, very quickly. We've been talking a lot about asking people to get out, but I'll ask Chris Cruz, our photojournalist, to go ahead and pan over, and you can see some people, despite all the warnings, still standing out here on the beach wanting to take in what's going on. Sort of what we've witnessed all over Fort Myers Beach throughout the day as we've driven around town. Lots of people still not taking this storm as serious as they should. Many of them riding it out on the island, but not even staying home. Some of them out walking the streets with just an umbrella. Some of them clearly having hurricane parties. They have drinks in their hands. To them, this is really just a joke despite all the warnings that we keep giving them. So if you are still out here, you need to, as they say, hunker down, because as you guys have been mentioning, the storm is definitely on the way.
Sean,
we've also been talking about the waves that we've been watching. Those have been picking up in intensity for sure out here over the last hour or so. Many people who come to Fort Myers Beach know it's almost like a lake many days with the waves, but these, we actually saw some people down by the pier about an hour ago trying to surf on these waves. Again, that's not recommended, but it shows the intensity of the waves that we are seeing out here. So the conditions are ever changing. The wind will pick up, the wind will drop off. It will be standing in a downpour 1 second, and then the rain will just dry up. So we are seeing all the effects of Hurricane Charley out here on Fort Myers Beach.
Sean, this is Jim Reef. Which part of Fort Myers Beach are you on right now?
You could consider us mid-island, Jim. I know when you guys show the weather reports, you always show the Gull Wing Resort. That's actually where we have been staying. We are hunkered down, I guess you would say, right here at the Gull Wing. We've also got cameras set up in our room so that when the storm surge does start to go up, we can retreat there and be safe, but also give you the latest pictures and the latest video of what's going on out here. But I guess you could say we're about mid-island, but we've traveled this island throughout the morning and have been monitoring the situation all over, and most people are gone, but there are still some stragglers hanging out.
Sean, one quick question too. The size of the beach, that's an incredibly wide beach before you get to the Gulf of Mexico behind you.
I'm sorry, guys. We are having some technical difficulties there. Could you repeat that question?
Okay. Okay. Well, Sean, we'll check back with you in a little bit. In the meantime, thank you very much, Sean Brown from ABC7 News, with that report from Fort Myers Beach.
And those of us that are familiar with Fort Myers Beach, that really is an incredible stretch of sand there on the beach.
Fort Myers wishes they had a stretch of sand year-round, for sure.
I bet. We have new information now about some power outages and other evacuations in the area. Let's go ahead and check in with Sharon Gregory and Len Jennings in just a moment. Again, if you're just joining us, Hurricane Charley is now a Category 3 storm, and indeed a very serious situation. It has changed course and is now bearing down on the Lee Island coast.
Yes, it is. 125-mile-an-hour winds. It is now within 2 hours of impact. We have not been able to pinpoint precisely where it's going to go, but we are very concerned about places like Sanibel, Fort Myers Beach, Pine Island, and the southwest and southern portion of Cape Coral that could take a whacking from a storm surge.
Absolutely. Let's go over to the news desk now.
Lee or Charlotte?
Okay, we have a couple of updates to bring you from the desk here. First of all, we want to let you know that we are experiencing a few power outages. You can report on those, as a matter of fact.
We do have a couple power outages. The first one in Lee County, McGregor south of to 6 Mile Cypress. That's in Lee County. They are experiencing a power outage. And just a reminder that we are simulcasting on a couple radio stations, Gator Country 101.9 and Groovin 102.9, and that started at 1 o'clock. So if you do lose power, you can put on your radio and start hearing us broadcast broadcast over the airwaves.
Yeah, and it's getting pretty dangerous out there. You've noticed from all the pictures we've been showing you. We have pulled our crews from Englewood Beach. They are actually going to Charlotte County. We also know that Punta Gorda is being evacuated. Downtown Punta Gorda, we just heard from NBC2's Melissa Painter on that as well. And we have also learned that the Charlotte EOC has evacuated. Okay, right. The Charlotte EOC, we learned, evacuated the Charlotte County Jail. Now, is that correct? Okay, that is correct. And Lee County is not. They are still in action.
And that's information that we're just getting in right now. And also, just if you haven't head to a shelter yet, I mean, you have to find a place to be safe right now. And just in case, if you just think you're going to go to a shelter, at Cape Coral, the Diplomat middle and elementary schools are near capacity. So Cape people can either go to North Fort Myers Academy of the Arts, and that's located at 1856 Arts Way. So they are, if you're heading out to a shelter, that's one place to two places, Diplomat middle and Diplomat elementary schools. They are near capacity as far as shelters are concerned. You can start experiencing that, especially this time of day.
You betcha. And now News Press reporter Chris Wadsworth is standing by with some very important information we understand about the causeway to Sanibel, correct?
That's absolutely right, Sharon. Reporter Jeff Collin, News Press reporter, has just told me that Lee EOC has told him that the Lee DOT, the Department of Transportation for Lee County, is preparing to close the causeway. It doesn't mean it's going to happen instantly, but they are preparing to close the causeway leading out to Sanibel and, of course, also to Captiva. Basically, their barometer is going to be when winds reach 40 miles an hour on the bridge, on the causeway, that is when they will close it. And, of course, I'm not sure exactly what those winds are right now. Perhaps the team of meteorologists will be able to tell us that in a moment. But, again, Lee DOT is planning on closing the causeway, the Sanibel Causeway, when the winds reach 40 miles an hour. Also, once it closes, it will stay closed. It will not open until first light tomorrow. That's because we all know that the causeway has had some structural concerns about it. They don't know what this storm could do to it. So they will leave that causeway closed until tomorrow morning when they have an inspection team that is ready to go and take a look at it. As of right now, though, the causeway is still open. It's all people streaming off the island. They are not allowing people on the island. Once that causeway is closed, anyone who has chosen to stay out on Sanibel or Captiva, completely on their own. There will not be a way for emergency crews to get out there. They will have to fend for themselves at least until first light tomorrow. That's what we have right now. Back to you over at the desk.
Okay, Mr. Chris Wadsworth, thank you very much, News Press reporter. And I believe we're going to send it back to weather.
We are going to send it. Just a reminder, no commercial breaks right here, so keep it right here. Robert Van Winkle and Jim Reef are in the Weather Center right now, and they have the latest on Hurricane Charley.
Thanks, Lynn. Thanks, Sharon. Again, this is a joint venture between NBC2 and ABC7, folks. Hurricane Charley is expanded to a Category 3 storm. Jim Reef, I believe you've been on the phone a little bit. What have you been hearing?
Nothing good, unfortunately. Okay, we just had to turn the microphone on and we solved that problem. Okay, here's the information. The storm had been tracked by the National Hurricane Center and projected to move toward the north. And shortly after noontime, it became apparent studying the radar pictures that this storm was no longer moving toward the north. It was curving off toward the northeast, getting stronger in the process. Right. That's right. So what we have now is a very serious threat to life and property in Southwest Florida, as a very strong Category 3 Hurricane Charley is on final approach on the Southwest Florida coastline, and our first major hurricane hit since Hurricane Donna in 1960.
All right, so let's get right to it. What do people need to do at home right now? What you need to do is be safe.
We very strongly suggest you not try and get in your car and get out of the way, because I'm sure there are a number of people trying to do that right now and probably sitting in traffic. If you have an hour or two to prepare, we would rather not see you sit in traffic and perhaps be stranded as the core of this hurricane comes ashore. We would rather you spend that hour or two with any last-minute preparations you can make inside your house.
I'm going through our distance calculator now, Jim, from the tip of Sanibel, actually the center point of Sanibel to the edge of this first outer band, which does appear pretty impressive, is 17 miles.
Okay, so
we've got about an hour before the first pretty big wave hits.
We're told that by the National Hurricane Center that it's moving toward the north-northeast at 20 miles an hour. We're seeing more red surrounding the center of circulation. That's telling me that the eye wall continues to contract. We're seeing certainly no sign of this storm weakening, and it is quite possible over the very, very warm, shallow waters of the coastal Gulf of Mexico, this storm could be getting its last energizing lightning boost before coming ashore in about an hour and a half.
And our Gulf waters have been running about 86, 87 degrees for several days now.
Absolutely. Now, again, on the track that it's on right now, our biggest concern is coastal Lee County. There's no second guessing that right now as you look at this radar loop. Right. The concern would be for Sanibel, for Captiva, for Pine Island. St. James City at the bottom of Pine Island is a very low-lying area with quite a number of mobile homes. If the storm makes landfall on Sanibel, there will be a storm surge perhaps in excess of 15 feet at Punta Rassa, and that water rise would translate into very severe flooding on Pine Island, into Pine Island Sound, the lower part of the Caloosahatchee River, and southernmost portions of Cape Coral, the Southwest Cape, which has been a booming area of the Cape in recent years with a lot of new development, also a very low-lying area that lies in the path of this approaching hurricane. The southeastern Cape, one of the original areas of development back in the 60s and early 1970s, also the lowest part of the Cape as well.
Jim, what do you think will happen as the storm moves in? The first wave of the storm surge comes up the Caloosahatchee River. How far up the river will this storm surge travel, in your opinion, estimation?
Very difficult to say because it will also take some time for the storm surge to make its way up.
Good point. Good point.
Because the Caloosahatchee River is a wide, long river, but also notice how the river narrows as you go past the city of Fort Myers, and it's that narrowing which will funnel a deeper storm surge. If the storm comes in north of the city of Fort Myers, then there could be a storm surge that conceivably could put downtown Fort Myers underwater.
And I've just circled an area here just upriver from the two bridges, North Fort Myers up toward Bayshore, and a lot of homes and businesses and through this area certainly at risk right now from this storm surge. Timing-wise, what do you think?
Timing-wise, the storm moving at about 20 miles an hour. We probably have no more than about an hour and a half. Local time's about 1:26. We're probably going to be an hour off in our forecast from 3 days ago, which was 2 o'clock. And we wish with all our hearts that we were wrong on this forecast as far as the timing is concerned.
Let's go down to southeastern Cape Coral, zooming in a little bit. We've been showing this all morning. A lot of canals, a lot of places connected to the Gulf of Mexico, to the Caloosahatchee River, a lot of water.
Yeah, now there are two kind of canals in Cape Coral. You got your saltwater canals, you got your freshwater canals. The north end of the Cape is freshwater canal, and Robert, you mentioned this a little while ago. If you can't take your boat and sail to the Gulf of Mexico from your canal, you're probably on a freshwater canal.
And I found some of that earlier, just off the Midpoint Bridge. It looks to me like an area here is a good example of a freshwater canal system here. I don't see any outlets there. I may be wrong, it may be underneath here, but in any case, that's sort of what we're saying. If you're on the canal system in Cape Coral and you're not connected to the river, storm surge won't be necessarily a problem, but boy, the wind and the rain is going to pick up tremendously.
Okay, now let's talk about surviving this storm. And if you told us 2 or 3 hours ago that we would be talking about having to survive a hurricane, I wouldn't have believed you. But we have to talk in terms of that right now. We had many stories from Hurricane Andrew back in 1992 when that powerful storm hit southern Miami-Dade County, where people went into the interior-most portions of their homes, in their bathrooms, with their entire families, brought mattresses and blankets and pillows from their bedrooms and essentially just put it over top of them and rode out the storm that way.
Right.
And as crazy as this sounds, this is something that you're going to have to consider doing if you're still at home and in the path of the storm.
Now, we've had, of course, since Hurricane Andrew, a lot of building codes that have been beefed up in the state of Florida. A lot of homes are being built, new homes with additional protection from hurricanes like this. How is that looking? Do you think that's going to hold up?
Well, we hope that will be the case, but the vast majority of homes in Southwest Florida were built before the building codes were
mobile homes
and mobile homes. Mobile homes are a great way of life and they're very economical way of living in Southwest Florida, but it's going to be a big problem with the mobile home community here in Southwest Florida. We understand we have some pictures from the beach.
We're back to Fort Myers Beach now, and it looks like our crew there is sort of retreated up to the. Are you on the 5th floor, guys? Who are we talking to? You're on the second floor. I believe this is at the Gull Wing Resort. Who's there?
Yes, I don't have IFB, so forgive me if I don't hear you talking to me, but I'm going to try and give you a little display of what we're seeing out here. Something very dramatic. If you take a look out there, you can see some of the whitecaps out here. That is fairly new. In the last 10 minutes, we've seen it really kicking up out there. If you take a look to the right to compare that, go ahead and take, you can see the water is definitely not as violent as it is out there on the left side. That's the south side, facing south. This is the Gull Wing Resort. It is a resort on the mid-island of Fort Myers Beach. Now, if you take a look straight ahead, you see that blue marker out there? Well, we're going to revisit that later on this afternoon and see how high the water has gotten looking at that. I can tell you it's about 5 feet standing, that piece alone, and that is probably the highest point on the beach. Now, we're going to back up here and show you some of the vantage points we have in this room right now. We have pretty much the south side. Okay, so if we swing around here, the reason why we're going to be coming up to the 5th floor later on today when that storm surge comes out here is because Fort Myers Beach is only 3 or 4 feet high, and obviously we're expecting that storm surge to be anywhere close to about 10 feet. Now, if you take a look out here, you can see a good vantage point of what's going on next door. Take a look at these guys working up to the last minute. They are working right now to try and get those vents covered to prevent storm surge from entering that building. They obviously, you can see that as a generator room. You can see the exhaust pipe there, and they're trying to protect it as best as possible, and they look like they're going to be working all the way up to the last minute on that. Obviously, you can look out and you can see Estero Boulevard and the back bay, and you see a car just pass by up there. I don't know if you got to catch that, but Estero Boulevard is still dry for the most part, but I can tell you, living on this island as a resident of Fort Myers Beach, it doesn't take much at all for it to flood, and we are definitely going to expect that to happen later on today. We're live in the Gulf Wing Resort on the 5th floor with photojournalist Paul Fifield, who's worked incredibly hard to make this happen. We'll try and get you more pictures as we get them out here. Back to you.
David Sutta on Fort Myers Beach, thanks for your report. Back here at the Hurricane Tracking Center, Jim Reef, again, this has now become a very serious situation in earnest for us.
That's right, and like we said, I'm sure we're scaring the bejeebers out of everybody on this thing, but I think you need to do something right now. If you live on Sanibel Island, Pine Island, Cape Coral, Fort Myers Beach, this storm is coming, and it's going to be here within an hour and a half. The inner core, the most destructive part of the storm, is the red part that surrounds the donut, and you can see that coming closer and closer to coastal Lee County, Sanibel, Pine Island, Captiva, Fort Myers Beach, and the storm does not stop at the barrier islands. On the other side of skinny Sanibel is skinny Pine Island, and St. James City is a very low-lying area with a lot of mobile home population, and right across the sound from Pine Island is affluent South and Southwest Cape Coral, where there has been a tremendous influx of people and a lot of development in recent years, and that area is also under the gun. I wondered if do we have any of our two-view cameras that are up and running right now?
We do have a two-view camera that's going to be up in just a second. Again, I'm sitting here trying to think of course, what we can tell folks, and we have already said we're now telling people that it's time to prepare to be safe physically, to protect yourself, your home, and your family. We've learned lessons from major hurricanes in the past, and what we're telling you now is you need to think about now how you're going to stay safe in your home when this major hurricane gets closer. You're looking at a live picture now from our Marina at Cape Harbor camera. This is pointed directly towards Sanibel. Just a few drops of rain there. I believe Rum Runners is off there in the distance. You can see just the tip of the restaurant there. Off toward Pine Island and Sanibel. Again, the winds around the center of the storm just about, what did I say? Let me get this exactly right here. From that camera to the eye of the storm is 53 miles away, okay? Jim, we should see the wind start to pick up greatly. I believe we've got some First Alert Live weather link sites we can go to with live information off of the internet. Again, the categories of hurricanes are on your screen there. We have been looking at a Category 3 hurricane. Here are the weather link sites. Look at the wind gusts on the right column. In Fort Myers, gusting to 42. Cape Coral gusting to 35. This is only going to get worse.
No question about it. Now, we keep coming back to this storm surge issue, and this is something that I want everyone who is near Sanibel, Fort Myers Beach, Pine Island to listen and listen closely, because storm surges are unique phenomena. Storm surge, when we talk about a 15-foot rise of water, what might happen is that over the next hour or so, you might see a 5-foot rise in water. The last 10-foot of rise could happen in 5 minutes. It happens that quickly. So this is a situation where you need to get off the beach. If you know anyone on the beach right now, they have no business being there. You need to get back off the beach to as high a ground as you can easily get to. Again, for the folks on Sanibel, Captiva, Pine Island, Cape Coral, and it now looks as though we're starting to naturally zero in on an area of Lee County now as ground zero for the storm.
We have some upgraded technology we're bringing you this afternoon. Let's go take a look at the plot and the track of this storm over the last couple of hours from our Doppler radar enhanced versions that we've been able to bring to you. Here you can clearly see the pink dots for the last hour and a half, showing you where the storm has progressed to. And our urgency right now is because the original track of the storm was off to the north in this fashion, maybe up to, we were thinking, you and I were talking earlier, maybe Bradenton, maybe up a little bit more toward Tampa. Yes. But as you clearly see, the eye of the storm has followed this track over the last hour and a half, and that brings it on the Lee Island coast.
Yes, it does. Now let's talk about surrounding Southwest Florida. We're zeroing in on the effects of Sanibel and Fort Myers Beach in the mouth of the Caloosahatchee River. At some point, there's going to be a component that we'll be talking about north of the point of landfall that will actually start to see a negative storm surge.
Now, what do you mean by that?
Negative, well, on the underside of the storm, you have the powerful winds that will cause this perhaps 15-foot storm surge at the mouth of the Caloosahatchee River.
That's down in this section of the storm right through here.
Now, but on the top side of it, you have the wind going in the other direction, and that would be pushing water away from the Florida West Coast.
And that's what we were actually seeing on Fort Myers Beach at this time. We just saw David Sutta's live shot. The beach in Fort Myers Beach is several yards bigger than it normally is because of this effect of the winds on the front part of the storm.
Okay. We also need, we're going to be going to the Lee EOC in just a moment, but we just want to address too, because we have many people down in Naples and Collier County who are watching us as well. If this storm holds to its projected track, ground zero, like we said, seems to be Lee County. However, Collier County will also take a wallop. You are on the right side of the storm, and while you might escape the 120, 125 mile-an-hour winds, you will still be feeling wind gusts to hurricane force, and you still could get a storm surge even in Collier County in the order of 8, 9, or even 10 feet. So Collier County not out of the woods as far as the storm effects are concerned. Robert, I think we have Heather Turco at Lee County Emergency Operations Center with some late word for us. Heather?
Hi, Jim, Robert. Yes, I've got Dan Noah here. He's with the National Weather Service. He basically briefs everybody here, all of our officials and the emergency agencies that are represented on what's happening. And Dan, you said this is really concerning and frightening and a scary situation right now.
That's right. A short while ago, the hurricane aircraft reported estimated winds at the surface of 140 miles an hour, and that would make it a Cat 4 hurricane. Now, it's a very small hurricane. The eye is only 10 miles in diameter. But as that comes on shore, it's going to cause some damage.
And our forecasters and meteorologists back at the station are saying ground zero is going to be Lee County. Is that what you're anticipating too?
Yeah, the official forecast isn't out yet, but we're expecting it to go over Sanibel to along the Caloosahatchee.
Are we looking at a Category 4 hurricane at this point?
Well, currently it is. Hopefully, in the next 2 hours, it will decrease in intensity because that's a very strong hurricane to hit here. It's stronger than Donna was in '60.
And what does this mean for the people of Lee County? Is it basically stay home, stay safe?
It's pretty much shelter in place. We're going to look for, instead of 10 to 12-foot storm tides, it could go up as high as 14 feet.
Any advice that you have for our viewers?
Just try to get into a small room. You want to make sure the debris does not reach you. So the more walls you can put between you and the outside world, the better.
All right. Stay away from those windows. Dan Noah from the National Weather Service. I'm going to send it back to our meteorologists back in the studio.
Yeah. Heather, thank you very much. Let's stop it right here because that was a very valuable piece of information we just got from Dan Noah, a National Weather Service representative, and he's been based at the Lee County Emergency Operations Center. The word from him, and this is not rumor now, this is confirmed, that the latest Hurricane Hunter aircraft report now indicates that Charley has 140 mile-an-hour winds in a very small area close to the center. 140 mile-an-hour wind is a Category 4 hurricane, and now we are much stronger than Hurricane Donna of 1960.
Let's go back and again take a look at what we're seeing on our radar. As Jim said, now a Category 4 hurricane with winds in excess of 140 miles per hour around the center of the storm. Jim, the center of the storm looks to me, of course I just drew around this outer eye wall here, but this of course is the center of the storm. Where would you estimate the main 140-mile-an-hour winds are? Right in through here?
The main 140-mile-an-hour winds will be right of the eye. If we start looping that picture again, and you just can see the relative motion, it is right side of the relative forward motion. So it's that red that's on the right side of the donut. That's where the 140-mile-an-hour winds are located right now, and you can see the beeline it is making. And it's ironic, Robert, that we were talking and speculating about the mouth of the Caloosahatchee, the Punta Rassa area, that concave area, as one of the trouble spots. And now that we're talking a Category 4 hurricane, now that we're talking a Category 4 hurricane, we need to be talking, now this is going to be unbelievable, a storm surge in excess of 18 feet down at the mouth of the Caloosahatchee River. That's an 18-foot rise of tide that would occur to the right of the point that the storm makes landfall. Tip of Sanibel Island, Pine Island, St. James City, southwest and southern Cape Coral, Fort Myers Beach, the Iona-McGregor area, all that area would be very, very seriously impacted by the arrival of a Category 4 hurricane.
All right. Again, we're zooming in on some street level mapping here. You can see the rain is falling in earnest in some of these places. The winds are beginning to pick up. We already have tropical storm force winds across here, but our biggest concern now with the Category 4 storm is storm surge. And I'm going to turn the radar off now. We're going to give you another tour of this main area, which we now are honing in on as the ground zero, if you will. This is what we're kind of thinking about and looking at. From Fort Myers Beach to Sanibel to the tip of Pine Island, also into southern Cape Coral. Jim, if anybody is, we don't have any reports of major power outages. Is that right from the news desk? We're not really getting any reports of major power outages. So we can assume a lot of people are still watching us right now.
Yes.
People watching us right here, what do they do?
What do they do? You stay out of your car, stay off the road, and prepare yourself and your house as best you can. I'm sure that roads are getting clogged by people who are not listening and trying to escape in advance of the storm. Traffic would bog down tremendously, and probably is. We don't want to see you riding out a Category 4 hurricane in your car on the Cape Coral Bridge or the Midpoint Bridge, someplace like that. You need to be inside your home. You need to be preparing an innermost room away from windows, away from doors. You need to be bringing together blankets, pillows, maybe the mattress off of your bed, gathering all your family, getting into that room before too much longer, and just piling it over top of you as this storm, now a Category 4 hurricane, comes in from the Gulf of Mexico.
I'm going to loop this one more time, showing you the view out 100 miles or so from Fort Myers. Again, you can see the progress of the storm working off to the north and to the east. As we progress through the afternoon and watch what appears to be the imminent landfall occur, we are going to continue to update you throughout the afternoon on the radio. We have Gator 101.9 and Groovin' Oldies 102.9 that has agreed to simulcast our broadcast for the afternoon. If you lose power, tune your radio to 101.9 or 102.9, and that will provide you with our live broadcast here with the combination of ABC2 and NBC7. Again, radio simulcast will begin shortly on 101.9 and Groovin' Oldies 102.9. We don't have any reports of major power outages yet. However, Jim, that appears to be imminent in a situation like this.
Okay, let's stop it right here again and remind folks that you're watching continuing coverage of a newly reconstituted and a very, very dangerous Hurricane Charley that made a mid-course correction in its course and now has southwest Florida in its sights. Late word from a hurricane hunter plane just a few minutes ago. They have monitored and measured winds of 140 miles an hour in the eye wall of this dangerous hurricane. 140 miles an hour is a Category 4 hurricane, and it is moving directly toward Lee County. We're going to stop for a moment and catch our breaths. In the meantime, let's turn it over to Craig Wolf and Sharon Gregory.
Jim and Robert, thank you very much. Good afternoon, everybody. On a day that's certainly to go down in history in Southwest Florida, Friday the 13th, Hurricane Charley, now a Category 4 hurricane, and we're going to send it out to Fort Myers Beach right now.
NBC2's Dan Sheldon is out and about in the middle of it. Dan, what are the conditions like right now? I'm sure the winds are starting to really whip up out there.
Jessica, the winds have just picked up severely to the point where I can barely hear you. They have deteriorated significantly over the past half hour or so. Joel, pan out to the water if you could, and if you could take a look, the water and the waves are increasing significantly. The storm surge, the storm and the water is starting to approach us rather rapidly on the beach. It has probably made a significant amount of progress here in just the last half hour. We actually saw 2 residents of Fort Myers Beach here watching things not more than 10 or 15 minutes ago. They have since taken shelter. They only live about 400 yards from the actual beach, but say they've boarded up and they are ready for this thing, whatever happens. But again, as you guys have been saying, it is much more significant than we originally thought. In fact, we have 2 other people who have just appeared out of nowhere who are also taking this in. I have no idea who they are or what they plan on doing, but we will try and encourage them to get back on land and get back under cover here shortly, because this is turning into a potentially very dangerous situation very quickly. We'll continue to monitor the situation and stay out here as long as we can. For now, I'm live on Fort Myers Beach with photojournalist Joe Katner. I'm Dan Sheldon, NBC2 News.
Thank you both, and I would assume that these are among the last moments when we're going to be seeing our crews out in the field, because they have families too, and we don't want to put them in harm's way, that's for sure.
You bet. As a matter of fact, we already pulled our crews from Englewood Beach, and in fact, in Charlotte County, the Charlotte County EOC was forced to evacuate their building. It can't stand the kind of winds that Charley is bringing along, so they evacuated over to the Charlotte County Jail as well.
Jim Reef made a couple of interesting points. When Hurricane Donna hit 44 years ago, back in 1960, Lee County was a county of 50,000 people. Yes. It is now 10 times bigger, and today Hurricane Charley is now a more powerful hurricane, more compact and more powerful than Hurricane Donna was.
And we want to remind everybody, while you're watching us now and while you do have power on right now, because we're giving out all the information, we're going to be riding out the storm here as well. If you have a radio with batteries in it, go ahead and get that ready now, because if you do lose power, obviously none of the power crews are going to be able to get out until after the storm passes through. And if there's a silver lining to any of this today, at least to this point, we have a viewing area of 1 million people now. We don't have a lot of power outages reported, meaning that we are able to give you the information over your television set, but don't forget those radio stations if you have a battery-operated radio. If you lose power, there have been some reports of power outages along McGregor Boulevard in South Fort Myers from Cypress Lake, I believe, south, but they are scattered. And I would imagine that FP&L and Lee County Electric Co-op will not be paying a lot of attention quite yet to those power outages, with the potential of enormous power outages lying ahead. Obviously, there's a lot of danger out there. And just to let you know, the 2 radio stations that are broadcasting our simulcast are Gator Country 101.9 and Groovin 102.9. So you want to go ahead and get your radios ready. And if you're just joining us, as of this morning, it appeared that any kind of landfall from Hurricane Charley, a Category 2 back then, now a Category 4, would have been to our north, somewhere in the Tampa Bay area. Some of the forecasts then brought it further south into the Manatee County, Sarasota County area, but some forecasts pass, including ours, and we have an expert team of meteorologists is putting it on the Lee Island coast coming up in about the next hour and 15 minutes. And that Category 4 classification just came down only moments ago from Lee County EOC. They said that they had the Hurricane Hunter plane up in it, and they measured winds at 140 miles an hour near the eye of the storm. And we just saw Jim Reef point out that that's sort of the top right corner of the eye, and that is where the winds are the fastest. So. And that includes a storm surge of up to 18 feet. So once again, if you're just joining us, Hurricane Charley now a Category 4, sustained winds of up to 140 miles an hour. It is bearing down on the Lee Island coast. The forecast track has moved it from originally the north-northwest overnight to the north and then to the north-northeast, and that has been the problem with us. Jim Reef also mentioned from the coordinate standpoint that there was a longitude number of 83.0. Yes. We needed to stay higher than that, and right now I believe we're at about 82.5 or even lower. So that number has been indicative of a trend that has developed over the last couple of hours. In fact, it was just a couple of hours ago that they reported they were seeing that jog to the right, closer into our coastline. We're going to send it back over to Jim Reef and Robert Van Winkle.
Thanks, Sharon. Again, we are dealing now with a Category 4 hurricane. The maximum winds around that storm, 145 miles per hour.
That's brand new information now from the Hurricane Center and the Hurricane Hunter plane. This is getting worse by the minute now.
If you're on Cape Coral, I know that many of you now are obviously maybe a little scared about this. There is a shelter open on Cape Coral. It's Diplomat Middle School. It's located just north of Pine Island Road. Diplomat Middle School on the Cape is open. They're not going to turn anyone away. You just go to the middle school entrance. Cape Coral residents, we urge you, if you are not above a great elevation on the Cape, and I'm sure there are not many places that are, then some around the hospital are pretty good. But go to Diplomat Middle School. It is a shelter open on the Cape. It's just north of Pine Island Road. Jim, there's another way to evacuate in some areas. Say I'm in a trailer, for example, down near Punta Rasa. I didn't leave. What can I do in the next hour?
Actually, there are two things you can do. Number one, the concept of vertical evacuation. You have the Sanibel Harbor Resort and some condominiums there where you may be able to find some refuge. And also, which just if memory serves me correctly, Shell Point Village, which sits on the Caloosahatchee River, has
some towers.
No, they also have, they turn their parking lots, a parking structure, into a storm shelter that can withstand a Category 4 hurricane.
Good advice.
And I'm sure they've been spending the past couple of hours starting to move their people in there.
The point is, get away from the storm surge, get away from the water. If you have to move up in a building, find a building and get up in the upper floors. Let's go now to the Tropical Prediction Center, and we're going to talk once again with Ed Rappaport. Ed, we've had some dramatic changes here in Lee County. Can you fill us in? All right, we'll get that feedback. I know it was there. We just saw Ed. We'll get that feedback. Again, change is dramatic, but there's still about an hour of time. Let me go to the radar now. We'll show you. We've been tracking this storm distance-wise. Jim, we're looking at the outer bands. This is Sanibel. Here's the eye of the storm. I'm going to go up a little bit to the main outer band. It's 27 miles away.
Okay, 145 miles an hour. We are starting to get close to Andrew strength back in 1992. Andrew was a very small storm with a tightly wound center. As it turned out, when it was all said and done, the National Hurricane Center did research and actually found that Andrew came in with winds between 155 and 160 miles an hour, but for much of Miami-Dade County, it was a 145-mile-an-hour hurricane. So this is serious business, folks. You need to be taking steps right now.
I am interpolating this, but based on what we've seen and watched for the last couple of hours, again, the track of the storm has changed, and I'm drawing arrows off to the northeast. If the storm stays on this track, which it has consistently done in the last hour, the eye of the storm is going to go in somewhere over Sanibel, Pine Island, Captiva. That is apparently going to be ground zero right through here. The main outer wall of the storm, again, with winds of up to 145 miles per hour, a major serious Category 4 storm. And as you mentioned, Jim, once this storm moves ashore, it's not over yet.
No, it isn't, because we'll be going live in Charlotte County in just a moment, but the point we were trying to make is that the storm just does not stop and end at Sanibel or Fort Myers Beach. Sanibel is very narrow and will be overwashed, and the flooding and the storm will head into Pine Island, Cape Coral, as we've been talking, southwest Cape Coral, boom area of new development in recent years, and a very low-lying area at that.
Todd Jurkowski is in Charlotte County, a place very susceptible to major storm surge. Todd, how are the conditions there?
Well, I heard Jim talking a couple minutes ago about vertical evacuation. Unfortunately, that's not really an opportunity or an option here in downtown Punta Gorda. Very small buildings. In fact, one of the places where people were finding refuge was the Holiday Inn right on Charlotte Harbor along US 41. That's only a two-story hotel, and people are now getting out and getting out fast. We have some video that was shot by one of our photojournalists, Peter Iverseter, about 15 minutes ago, and you can see people. They had sheriff's deputies going around knocking on the door saying, hey, we've asked you to leave. Now we're telling you, you better leave for your own safety. And people are heeding that warning. They grab their bags and they're getting out. They're expecting storm surges in downtown Punta Gorda to be 10 feet at least. Now, that was before some of the updates we saw as far as the storm surge are concerned, and some people were really, quite frankly, taken by surprise.
This hotel until it was all gone? Yeah, and we called the hotel office just a second ago, and they said, didn't say nothing about evacuating, and talked to some other people and said they was evacuating, so we figured throw everything in the trunk of the car and leave.
We live on Riverside Drive. We live on a flood area, so we came over here to get away from it. Now the say to get the hell out of here.
And that's not a bad idea for most of the people. We are seeing actually some people heading now on opposite sides or out of downtown in their cars, which we didn't see that earlier in the day. To put it in perspective for us, where we're at in downtown Punta Gorda is 5 foot of elevation. If we're getting a 10-foot storm surge, obviously you can do the math and figure out that even this will be underwater fairly soon. We are prepared to pull out as well. We had our crews on the barrier islands get out, but we're going to try to stay down here and get you video of the activity, the storm surge, and the damage it's going to cause in the Punta Gorda area as it happens, and then we'll bring it to you live for as long as we can, as long as we're safe. Reporting live with photojournalist Brian Kay, I'm Todd Jurkowski in downtown Punta Gorda.
Well, thank you both and be safe. I want to throw a question over, if I can, to Jim Reef and Robert Van Winkle. It's almost impossible to think about the aftermath when we're still an hour and 15 minutes away. You can't help but think about the Sanibel Causeway. It is deteriorating. Do we run the risk of losing the Sanibel Causeway from this storm?
Crazy as this sounds, Craig, yes, we do. In 1979, there was a Category 3 hurricane that hit a tiny island off of Mobile, Alabama called Dauphin Island. And they had a causeway that was very, very similar to the Sanibel Causeway. They lost that causeway and the use of it for a year and a half after.
You're talking about all 3 bridges? Or at least the drawbridge?
My concern is the spoil islands, because the storm surge coming into Punta Rassa would just overwash the spoil islands and everything on it, and there would just be severe erosion, and the drawbridge may stand, but the spoil islands may not.
Now, the potential of that damage to the causeway comes from what? The winds, the storm surge, both?
From both, essentially. Now that we're talking about a 145-mile-an-hour hurricane, which is a Category 4, we're talking about an 18-foot storm surge at the mouth of the Caloosahatchee River at Punta Rassa. This very well is going to be the strongest storm of modern history in Southwest Florida, even going back over the past couple hundred years. And 145-mile-an-hour winds to the right of the storm when it makes landfall, driving that water in on the right side literally will just wash the spoil islands away. Now, the only thing that might save the Sanibel Causeway would be if the storm made landfall just east of it on Fort Myers Beach. But right now, everything that we see looks like it's heading right for Sanibel Island.
If you could put up the Doppler radar one more time, it doesn't appear that the storm is going to be taking any more of an easterly jog than it's already taking. As you see the eye coming on your screen here with the beeline. Jim, it looks to me like certainly Sanibel right in the way, but maybe over on the extreme far end, the western end here.
That would be toward Blind Pass, which ironically was opened by Hurricane Donna back in 1960. We can speculate exact points, but
we can do that all we want. But it's the point of it is it's about 26 miles away to this main, very serious area right through here with 145-mile-per-hour winds. I'm using my distance calculator, putting the cursor here on Sanibel, and going to this edge. It's 22.5 miles away right now. The storm is moving northeast at 20. There's about 1 hour left for impact on Sanibel or somewhere up toward Blind Pass.
Now, we were speculating even as a lesser hurricane about the effects on the underside of this storm after it pulls alongside and starts going north of point by point on our Southwest Florida coastline. We're starting to get to the point right now where Marco Island is probably starting to see the water beginning to rise. Not as dramatically as what we're going to see at Punta Rassa, but it is going to be a dramatic water rise nonetheless. Let's send it on back to Craig once again.
Well, let me ask you gentlemen one more question. I know that the behavior of these hurricanes can change at the last minute. I believe that happened with Andrew. It intensified in its last moments before it made landfall. If that were to happen with this storm, would the expectation be that it would strengthen, or is it possible that it will just stay where it is?
That's exactly what has happened. That's exactly what has happened.
This is the last-minute behavior change.
This is it. We're experiencing it right now, and it still has another hour to go of the very warm water. So it's quite conceivable that this thing could still intensify a little bit more in the next hour before it makes landfall.
Okay. Jim and Robert, thank you very much. We now want to go out to the Lee County EOC offices. That's where NBC2's Heather Turco is standing by with some new information, I believe. Heather?
Sharon, Craig, just about 10 minutes ago, the officials here got off the conference call with the National Hurricane Center. You know, we have heard that it's going to be a Category 4 storm, Hurricane Charley, 145 miles per hour. They're calling it now a life-threatening situation. The biggest news, the Sanibel Causeway is completely shut down. You are not going to be able to get on the causeway. Booch DeMarchi here says the only way you can get off the island is if you swim off. So best bet if you're there on the island and chose to stay there and not evacuate is to prepare your home, prepare yourself, and get in a safe place. In about 5 minutes, they're going to update as well on any action that Lee County is going to take with this latest news. They're very focused. It's very calm, the mood right now. Obviously, not a lot of joking around. It's time to get serious. We're in a severe situation right now. I understand, too, they're going to be asking the governor to just, I'd say this before, but now the causeway is closed. They were pleading with people to get off Sanibel Island, but at this point, the storm is moving quickly enough to where the bridge is closed once again. So people there, they tell us too, talking about the Sanibel Causeway, it's going to reopen sometime tomorrow. So don't look for it to be open at all today. We're talking tomorrow morning. The Sanibel Causeway will reopen. Come back to me in about 10 minutes or so, and I'll give you an update on what the county plans to do at this point with this latest news. Back to you.
Okay, Heather, thank you very much. Again, a life-threatening situation. We knew it was going to be a very powerful storm, and now, of course, we're learning a Category 4, definitely life-threatening. We want to also update you on simulcast for the radio. When your power, if it win, and I'm sure most everybody's power is going to go out throughout the storm.
It's likely.
Yeah, definitely. So go ahead, get your radio ready with your batteries, and we do have some other radio stations to tell you about. WJPT 106.3, WXKB, that's 103.9. Also, as we've been mentioning throughout our coverage, Gator Country 101.9 and Groovin 102.9. Those are radio stations which you can tune to and continue to hear our simulcast as Charley comes ashore.
You just heard from Heather Turco at the Lee County Emergency Operations Center to let you know how bad it is in Punta Gorda. The Charlotte County EOC has relocated. They've evacuated the people there. They are now at the Charlotte County Jail. We're just getting also word into our newsroom that the Fort Myers Police Department has ordered its officers to seek safe shelter at this time. NBC2's Patrick Taney has been following the developments down in Collier County, which is out of the most severe harm's way right now, but still could get pelted very badly by this. He has this report. All right, we're live, and we rewind the tape on the air every once in a while. We apologize for that, and we'll get that together.
Are we recuing that tape right now, or do we have that tape ready to go?
Gentlemen of the Weather Center, can we throw it back to you?
Absolutely, we're ready. We want to talk about what we were talking about earlier, which is vertical evacuation. You've got to get away from the water. The storm surge is coming. The waters will rise, and if you haven't got a place to go, we're going to suggest to you that you find some place in a higher building. Now, there are some places around. Higher floors.
Yes, there are. We suggested down Sanibel Harbor, name has almost escaped me there, down at Punta Rassa as a source for vertical evacuation. The Shell Point Village area, they have created a fabulous shelter for their residents in one of their parking garages, which is actually certified to Category 5 strength, and they may need every single category of that protection as this storm comes in from the Gulf of Mexico. Fort Myers Beach, there are a number of high rises that you can go to. The concept is called vertical evacuation. It is a